I've lived in Tinsley all my life. I was born there, in actual fact, on a house on Sheffield Road, and that's 57 years ago. I was there till I was about, 12, 13, something like that. Then we moved further up onto St Lawrence Road. Then I moved back down onto Sheffield Road, and then when I got married, I moved on to Ferrers Road, and now I live up on Maplebeck Road. One thing I do remember from being at school, when I was at the junior school, they built the new junior school just after I'd started at the old one, and we had to move from one building to the other. I remember walking up the road carrying a box full of stationery from one school to the other.
During the 1920s, Sheffield was an industrial powerhouse. Steelworks were scattered across the Don Valley, producing some of the world's finest steel. Along with the steelworks came the need for huge amounts of power. In 1921, the Sheffield Corporation constructed the Blackburn Meadows Power Station to help produce electricity for Sheffield's East End. However, this wasn't quite enough, as only 14 years after opening, the Blackburn Meadows Power Station underwent a huge expansion project. Part of this expansion was two brand new hyperboloid cooling towers. They were named Cooling Tower 6 and Cooling Tower 7, and they would go on to become Sheffield icons. Throughout the 1940s and 1950s, the Tinsley Towers stood proudly on the Sheffield skyline, along with the other cooling towers, as the Blackburn Meadows Power Station generated huge amounts of electricity to sustain Sheffield's industrial heartland. In 1959, the first section of the brand new M1 motorway was opened in the south of England. The new road slowly made its way north, and when it reached Sheffield, it would change the Don Valley skyline forever. The M1 motorway was originally planned to end in Doncaster. A smaller link road was to be built through Sheffield and Leeds to link the two major cities to the country's new motorway. However, the plans later changed, and it was decided that the M1 would go all the way to Leeds, following the route of the planned Sheffield and Leeds link road. As the M1 approached Sheffield, it became apparent that a new bridge would be required to carry the motorway over the Don Valley. The answer was the Tinsley Viaduct. Standing at over 20 metres tall and over 1,000 metres in length, the new Tinsley Viaduct passed just metres from the two cooling towers at Blackburn Meadows. This would later go on to save the towers from demolition. As Sheffield entered the 1970s, the city's steel industry was in decline. As the decade went on, and more steelworks closed their doors, the demand for power declined massively.
And hello, a very good evening now from the Look North News team. So, were you there? It's thought 8,000 people crowded into the Don Valley Stadium, not Don Valley Stadium, but into the Don Valley, I should say, at 3 a.m. this morning to watch the Tinsley Towers come crashing down. Getting ahead of myself, aren't I? Tom Ingle joined the crowds for a night to remember.
As you reach junction 34, the motorway runs between the Tinsley Viaduct and the Meadowhall Shopping Centre. The locals call these the salt and pepper pots of Tinsley. You either love them or hate them. Some say these long-disused cooling towers are Sheffield's Angel of the North, but the owners say they're not safe and they've got to go. It'll seem empty without them.
It's been years in the making, but ultimately it's taken a few weeks of hard work. Demolition contractors have drilled over 2,000 holes in the cooling towers, packing them with explosives.
This is an explosive code which detonates at 7,500 metres a second. We use it for mass initiation of all the other small charges which which are 20 grand, which we're placing in the hole. This thing will be on the floor within about 10 seconds.
And while we were at the new school, they started building the motorway. That was the reason why we'd had to move out the old one, so they could knock it down to make room for it. And I can distinctly remember standing on the school playing field, looking at the building site and seeing all the gigantic earth movers moving up and down. And you could hear the pile drivers going as they were driving the piles to put the columns up for the viaduct. A lot of people I spoke to didn't want it, but I think that's because they realised that part of the community was going to disappear. And although they moved people out of the area into new housing that was built around Tinsley at the time, a lot of people did actually move away from the area. And I think that was the start of a decline in the community spirit probably in that area. In Tinsley, people always talk about the fact that we're a forgotten area, and everybody seems to think Sheffield finishes when it gets to the motorway. It's probably just our perception, but we do seem to be neglected a little bit out there. If you look at the figures, the council probably spend as much money on us as they do on any other area, but it just appears that way.
It's never easy getting the past and the present to sit together. South Yorkshire's gaining an air of confidence these days, though it's taken a big investment to do it.
There are thousands of people here at the Meadowhall car park. They've come from all over the country, ready to see a little bit of history disappearing. And to be honest, there's quite a party atmosphere because people have been camped out here for hours.
Hello! I've cut short my holiday to see them.
I think they shouldn't be knocked down. It's a good sign of Sheffield.
They've had the day, they want to go. It's going to be sadly missed, I think, by most people in the city, really. Cheers.
On the 12th of August 2008, a demolition date was finally set. They would be brought down in the early hours of the 24th of August. The Tinsley Towers had finally been defeated. Over the coming weeks, high explosives were placed at the base of the towers as they prepared to say goodbye to Sheffield forever. As the sun set over Sheffield on the 23rd of August, thousands of people gathered to say goodbye to two of Sheffield's most famous residents.
Another early recollection I've got is the power station that was there. Every now and again you get this enormous blast of steam coming out, and it was really noisy. And of course, once that had gone, it seemed very quiet. And now the last vestiges have gone. The cooling towers went down. We actually went down to Meadowhall to watch them being blown up. It was quite a sad occasion, really, because I think they were probably the last memento of the industrial heritage of that area. We've still got things like the Magna, of course, but that's not as noticeable as those two enormous towers were as you're driving down the motorway. You saw them and you thought, I'm home. There were some people that were definitely in favour of them being knocked down. And fair enough, you've got to make way for progress. It's one of the things that you've got to accept in life. But I think there's also a place for nostalgia, and to be honest, looking at the site that they've got there now, where the cooling towers were stood, they've not touched that area. So they could have left them there. I admitted they needed some money spending on them to make them safe, but they could have used that as a sort of a heritage centre or a visitors centre of some description. You never really appreciate anything until it's not there. And I think because of the fact that the face of that area has changed considerably, people do like to see artwork that reflects what the place used to look like. And it somehow preserves that little bit of heritage and makes people feel like they've got some roots.
Imagination